2000 rupees, does it really get you a good IEM? Is it worth spending this money on IEMs rather than getting wireless earbuds? Now, this is a difficult question. In terms of sound quality, these would exceed the capability of any 2000 rupee, 3000 rupee wireless earbuds. But in terms of convenience, they cannot. The convenience of having earbuds is the fact that they're wireless. You don't need to mess with anything. You just connect them up, Bluetooth, and you're done. You're good to go. These, on the other hand, are not so simple. And it's not really 2000 rupees, because 2000 rupees, while they do get you the IEM itself, other than this exception here, the Tanchjim one, which you can get in a USB-C version, and if you do get that, the wire would terminate in a USB-C input, which you connect to your phone or your tablet, or your computer, and you can get sound directly into this. The wire basically has the DAC built in, but other than that, the rest of them just use analog input, so you're going to need a DAC. The simplest form of DAC would be a dongle, something like this, and you would then connect the wire, the analog input here, and this would go into your source device, which could be your phone or your tablet or whatever it is. This is going to cost at least 1000 rupees. So the true cost of owning one of these is 3000. If you don't have a DAC already, you're going to need to get one. So ultimately you're going to be paying about 3000 rupees to own any of these. You get a baseline of what these sound like. I brought out IEMs that I had like 15 years ago. I think it was 15 years ago that I got these M Audio IEMs. These are actually rebranded Ultimate Ears Studio Feed 3s. These are very popular back in the day and highly recommended for music, and they were really good. So for that time, not for now. Back then, these IEMs just measure flat, and that's really all we were really looking for with an IEM. We didn't know what we know today in terms of how to tune an IEM. So in terms of tuning, these are nowhere close to what these IEMs are like. But for back in the day, these were really good, and these used to cost, I don't know how much these used to cost. I had to pick them up for 6000 rupees used in India, because you could hardly get anything here. And this moment I saw these being listed on eBay India that existed back then, I immediately went ahead and grabbed a pair, and these were my IEMs for back then. I mean, this is what I used all the time. This connected to my iPod Nano is what I traveled with, and I used to travel extensively as an intern back then. And I really didn't have a choice when and where I had to travel. I used to just put these on and forget I was even traveling. So these were excellent for them. But compared to this, these are in a completely different league. So let's start with what we have now. We'll start with the Zero 2. One of the main reasons for a poor experience with IEMs is a poor fit. And these IEMs could very well contribute to having a poor fit, because they have a large body and a really short nozzle. So depending on your ear, you may not be able to get them to sit properly and get a proper seal. And if you don't get a proper seal, the entire experience is ruined. There's really no way around this. While I personally did not have too much trouble with even the stock tips, as long as I wiggle them a little bit when I'm putting them on to make sure they sit correctly, there's a good chance that you might have an issue. Depending on how your ears are, the shape of your ears, you can have an issue. You can see how the rest of the IEMs are kind of even shaped a little bit, kind of convex. This is concave. Yeah, you can see the concave curve here. These don't have those. These are just a big lump of plastic, and as a result, it may not fit too well. Mainly when you add the very short ear tips, you kind of form from here. This just starts abruptly and ends like this. So this definitely might be an issue for some. There are ways around this. For example, Dunu SNS tips, they have this almost squarish shape, which enables you to get a good seal with them no matter what. So there are ways around this, but that costs extra money. So if you want to get SNS tips, I think about 800 rupees to buy. So definitely some extra money to be spent if you don't get a good seal with them out of the box. Having said that, in terms of sound quality, amongst all the IEMs here, this could be your one and done IEM. It sounds incredibly natural. The timbral accuracy is excellent. The timbral accuracy of voices, it sounds absolutely believable. There is no getting used to. I mean, some IEMs you need to get used to before you can enjoy them, because you're not really expecting something to sound that way. The balance is a little off, but once you get used to it, you can appreciate the balance that was designed. But these just sound absolutely natural. There's no time needed to get used to. You put these on and immediately you're like, yeah, these sound great. So the Zero Twos are excellent for that kind of thing, and they also have a bit of a bass boost. So what these are called Harman tuned IEMs. Just to be clear, just because something follows the Harman curve doesn't mean they sound the same as another IEM that follows the Harman curve. The Tanchjim one also kind of follows the Harman curve, but these two sound nothing alike. So coming back to Zero Twos, they are Harman with a bass boost, but like I said, in terms of Harman curve tuned IEMs, these are one of the best I've heard, and for 2000 rupees, this is excellent value. So really smooth treble, really clear mids, and really good quality bass, and you get a lot of bass. The only reason you may not want to buy this IEM is if you don't like bass, or let's say you listen to music with lots of bass. If music you listen to has lots of bass all the time, this might definitely become a bit overwhelming, because this is going to be blasting bass in your ear, and you may not want so much bass. Not everybody wants it, so if you don't like that much bass, this could be a downside. But to be honest, the bass, even though it's boosted, is still well within control. I would not consider this an uncomfortably bass heavy IEM to listen to. These are just perfect, and for most of you, these would just work excellently. So if you're looking for a starter IEM, the Zero Twos would be a great start. A proper balanced IEM with a bass boost. Then we go to the Wan'er. The Wan'ers are a little bit different in a sense. These are really, they have a warm sound profile. So if you're wondering what warmth is when mid bass starts bleeding into the mids. It kind of mellows down the mids initially, and then if the mid bass gets too intrusive, it kind of removes detail. It kind of kills the detail in the mids. So when you're tuning the IEM, you need to be really careful that the the mid bass doesn't kill the mid range, but rather just adds enough to remove any element of sharpness in the mids, and this is what this does. These are very popular IEMs. They keep being recommended, and I can see why. Pretty much anyone is going to allow these IEMs because of the warmth. It kind of makes everything sounds a little bit inviting. And I know they call it warm. I guess the reason is being warmth, inviting, that kind of a thing. That's the kind of response it kind of invokes. The sound is very inviting to listen to, and it has great vocal presence as well. So you get good vocal presence, and this added warmth to the mids makes this a very pleasant sounding IEM to listen to. Not the most accurate sounding IEM to listen to, but very pleasant to listen to. And I certainly do like this colorway. This is a co-branded version with the local retailer. So you get this peacock blue and this gold nozzle. It's a little bit gaudy, but honestly I do really like this colorway. I think it looks brilliant. So if you're looking for something not super accurate, but something that's always inviting to listen to, always, no matter how bad the track is, how badly mastered the track is, or how many sharp elements in the track exist. If you want something inviting to listen to, this would probably be the IEM to buy. Then we go to the Ziigaat Nuos. I really like these IEMs. I mean, off the lot here, these are the ones I would probably get, because they sound absolutely clean. That's how I could describe it. I mean, it sounds really clean. There is not a moment where you think, oh no, one part of the music is overwhelming the other. There's never the case with this. It's all perfectly balanced. They're really nice to listen to, and they look really understated, and I really like that part. So the smoke black plastic top, and they have the solid black back panel and the gunmetal finished nozzle. These really look understated, and they sound very clean. They are not analytical and sterile. I mean, these are words again you might be seeing used a lot. It's not like they focus so much on the mids and the highs that the bass is just recessed and it sounds incredibly analytical or cold. That's not the case here. You still get a bit of warmth. It's just that it's at the very lowest end, so it never muddies the mids. So the mids is still clear, but you still get a bit of warmth in the bass. And when you do ask it to do sub bass, let's say you do a really sub bass heavy track, this does pull through. It does have enough sub bass. It's not like you're going to say, oh no, there's no sub bass. So there's definitely no sub bass. It's just very well balanced in the mix. Nothing overwhelms the other. Everything is perfectly balanced. But in terms of how they sound, one thing I do have to note, they do have a lot more energy in the upper mids. So it will take you a little longer to get used to this IEM. So if you're coming for TWS or you never used IEMs before, it's going to take you a little longer to get used to this than it would get used to something like the 02s, which, like I said, are very natural and you'll just take to them like a fish to water, really. They sound so natural that you'll just immediately like them. This one, again, very, very inviting to listen to. So again, you'll get used to them quite quickly because the treble doesn't have any excess energy in compared to the preference curve that Harman set out. It doesn't have any excess energy in those terms. So both of these you will get used to quite quickly. These might take you a day to get used to. Once you do, you will experience a much better soundstage than the 02s and the Wan'er. When I say much better soundstage, the width is all you get. Depth and height is really not possible at this price range or with the kind of tuning these IEMs have. What you will get is width, and this does do a little bit more width than these other two, or at least it makes you perceive it that way because the imaging is nice and sharp and the soundstage is relatively clear. So there's never any overlapping music. The instruments are well defined and you can definitely isolate them individually, which does give it a nice sense of width of the soundstage. So it does not add to that. So again, I really do like these IEMs. If you are looking for something that is a bit more maturely tuned, a little more grown up and with understated looks, the Nuos would be the IEMs to get. But this is definitely not going to be a crowd pleaser like the Wan'er and the 02s would be. Then we get to the QKZ HBB. What I can say about this IEM is it's certainly not as bad as I hoped or bad as I thought it would be. Not hoped, but thought. It's definitely not as bad as I thought it would be. I say this because my first experience with HBB tuned IEMs were these. Let me just bring those in. So these are the QKZ HBB Hades, and these are absolute garbage. They claim to be sub-bass heavy, but they're sub-bass heavy in a way, if I were to describe it, you're stuck at a traffic light and someone pulls up with really large subwoofers in their car and you're listening to their subwoofers in your car, or rather, you're looking at somebody else's subwoofers in your car, because all the detail is gone. It's just the bass that comes through, and that's about it. It can't even do it very well. Once you crack up the volume, the speakers kind of give up, the drivers kind of give up, and I think I managed to blow these up really, giving them too much power because they don't get loud enough to offer you the right experience. These were really terrible, so let's not talk about those. These are actually older than those, in the sense these were designed by HBB before the Hades came out. And if I were to describe them in a very simple way, I would say they are warmer and muddier Tangzu Wan'ers. That's what they are. They certainly do not have the mid-range detail that Wan'ers have, because the bass just intrudes, the mid-bass intrudes into the mids and kind of ruins the detail a little bit. But it's not so bad. I mean, it's not bad that you can't listen to it. It's still an eminently listenable IEM. It still has a lot of warmth, excessive warmth, basically, like so much warmth that it just ruins the mids a little bit. But at this price range, you're not getting another IEM which can do sub-bass like the QKZ HBB can. By the way, these are just called QKZ HBB. They don't really have a model name. That's all they call this QKZ HPB. That's about it. So in terms of sound, if you're looking for sub bass at this price range, this is the IEM to get. And they're not completely horrible for anything else either. So, but you do give up a lot. But if you want sub bass, I mean, what else are you going to do? You're gonna get these. And then finally, I come to the Tanchjim ones. These are the only bullet style. I kind of laugh a bit because I really do like these IEMs. So what they are bullet style IEMs. So if you're looking for something which is bullet style, this is really the only option out here. And like I said before, you can get these with a USB-C cable, so it kind of skips the cost of getting a separate dongle. The cable comes with its own DAC, so you can convert digital to analog. But my biggest issue with this IEM is not the tonality. The tonality I do like. It's kind of like Harman, but a little bit more energy in the upper mids. So you do get this a little bit more forwardness to the mids, and it also has a peak at 15,000 kilohertz, if I'm not wrong. And that peak adds this little bit of sense of air, or it would have added the sense of air if this IEM could do a reasonable soundstage. The problem with this IEM for me is it really has no soundstage. It almost sounds like the soundstage is collapsed, and all the sound is coming from in between your ears. That's a really disturbing experience, which I don't enjoy. Yeah, I mean, I really do like the sound signature of these IEMs. What I cannot live with is the soundstage and imaging. Imaging doesn't exist because there's no soundstage, so everything is just cramped in the middle of your head, and everything is just happening there. So really, from that perspective, I really can't recommend these IEMs. But if you're a big fan of bullet style, then I guess this is the only IEM here you can get. I'm not sure if there are many other bullet style IEMs out there, but for sure it is one of a kind, I guess. But definitely not something I would pick. Right, so let's end this video with a quick summary of all these IEMs. So Ziigaat Nuo, a very maturely tuned IEM, really well balanced with bass and a little bit more energy in the treble, which of course means you might need some more time to get used to these if you are not used to IEMs with more treble energy. But having said that, these are still the IEMs I would pick off the lot. The 02s would definitely be another good pick. These are not for me because they do have a much lower treble energy. I mean, they're very smooth treble, which means it's going to sound natural to a lot of people, but I would prefer to have a little better staging and imaging rather than just have smooth treble. So, but if you are looking for smooth treble and you do like nice clean bass, but just be sure to note that it does have a lot of quantity of bass as well. So it's nice, good bass with plenty of quantity. So if you don't like quantity, maybe don't get the 02s. They might be overwhelming for you. Then coming to the Wan'ers are, again, they're not lean on the bass. They do have a lot of bass, but they do have a lot of mid bass, and that does make them, or rather give them, a warm sonic signature. So if you're looking for something very warm and inviting to listen to and still has a very natural treble roll off, these would be excellent IEMs to get. So definitely a very good entry point if you don't want to get too shocked. But between the 02 and the Wan'er, I would say they aren't very different. Yes, this has a little bit mid-bass muddiness, this has less mid-bass muddiness, but you can get either of these IEM, and assuming the 02 fits well for you, you'll be pretty happy. Then we come to the QKZ HPB. Now if you are a bass head, this is really the only IEM you can get at this price range, or at least the ones I've heard of. Or ones I've heard, these would be super sub-bass heavy, and they would give you the kick, or rather the bass unit. Kick is a strong word because they don't really kick, they go like boom boom, but yeah, you get the boom bass, the really boomy bass, really one note bass, but really lots of bass. So if you really want lots of bass, this is the one. Now if you're wondering, hey, wait, is there an IEM that can do really high quality sub bass? Yes, there is. So QKZ now also has the Deuce, which again is a really expensive IEM. I mean, it costs like 10 times more than what these cost. These do sub bass like nothing else. So this is not like the Hades at all that we spoke about before. This is crap. This is excellent in terms of sub bass. So if you are a bass head, or even if you want to like watching movies, then probably this is the IEM you should get. But actually, those are very expensive. So coming back to price range we were discussing, if you need something that has to do it at this price range, it's the QKZ HBB. You do lose out on soundstage, you do lose out on imaging precision, and you do lose out on the clarity of mids, but well, you get the bass. And then ultimately with the Tanchjim ones, which like I said, sound incredibly weird. They have no soundstage, and as a result, no imaging either. These just sound like everything is in your ear. It's super intimate, right in your ears, and it's definitely not something I enjoy at all. But maybe that's something you're looking for, and if you're looking for something that sounds very in your ear all the time, then the Tanchjim ones would be the one to pick. So that was it for today's video. I really hope now you have enough information to go pick your first IEM and start your audio journey, because it is a beautiful journey and there are several places to go to. But even if you don't want to go the whole way, these IEMs are just so excellent. This might be all you need for another 5 years, and 5 years, who knows what 2000 rupee IEMs would be like. Maybe they'd be so good that nothing else will exist. Alright, thank you everyone. Thanks for watching. See you next time.